Good day, everyone. One of the most important part for a drone pilot to keep in mind is to know the various maneuvers, turns, and circuits. This is very much important, not only from a flight point of view, but also from a certification point of view. Let's look at the various maneuvers, turns, and circuits in our upcoming slides. The various list of maneuvers, turns, and circuits a pilot should know are as follows. First, minimum operating climb altitude, then it's the landing, then complex figure 8, blind landing, road course, point of interest, standoff distance, reveal climb, and long distance orientation. Let's look at each of these maneuvers, turns, and circuits in detail in our upcoming slides. First is the minimum operating climb altitude, where the purpose is to establish the minimum height plus 10 feet that the drone should climb so that it will not strike any object during the abortion of the flight maneuver. With the camera set in a level position, the pilot will climb straight up after takeoff until the drone is even within any obstacles within the area of operation. The drone will do by this by looking at the screen and seeing the top of the obstacle and the horizon behind it. The pilot will then yaw the drone 360 degrees to ensure that he or she has identified the tallest obstacle. The screen will then indicate how high the obstacle is above the ground level. The student pilot is then at 10 feet to this height to obtain the MOCA. Next is accuracy landing. Pilots will need to demonstrate that they can perform a controlled descent and landing within a 1 square foot area. The maneuver is as follows. The instructor will identify a location on the ground that the student pilot must land her aircraft or the drone. The student pilot should do a controlled descent to approximately 10 feet above the target and slowly descend using the camera facing straight down. At approximately 2 feet above the target, the student pilot should make any final adjustments, raise the camera, and then land the drone. Next is the complex figure 8. The purpose is to provide the student pilot with a task that tests the hand-to-eye coordination, as the student pilot will need to watch the drone and manipulate the drone at all times. So the first maneuver is the student pilot will need to fly a figure 8 pattern with each circle approximately 30 feet in circumference. Crossover points should be directly in front of the pilot, 30 feet out, the aircraft flying pattern with the nose of the drone facing in the same direction, away from the student at all times. The second maneuver talks about the student pilot will need to fly a figure 8 pattern with each circle approximately 30 feet in circumference. Crossover point should be directly in front of the pilot, 30 feet out, with the drone flying a pattern with the nose of the aircraft leading the maneuver throughout the entire flight. Next is a blind landing. The purpose of the blind landing is to build the student pilot's confidence in maneuvering the drone. This maneuver will also build the communication skills between the visual pilot and the visual observer. The maneuver includes the student pilot's visual observer will guide the student pilot flying the drone from at least 50 feet above the ground and at least 30 feet away from the landing point with verbal commands. The observer will have the pilot position the drone with the nose of the aircraft facing away from the pilot at all times. The pilot and the visual observer should have already established commands such as transition left, transition right, 3 to 1 stop, descent, and various others. This is the importance of having an understanding about the blind landing so as to understand the coordination between the student pilot and the observer. The road course. The purpose is to build confidence in the student pilot ability to maneuver the aircraft using the control sticks, first person view, and a visual observer at the same time. The maneuver includes first the student pilots will be required to fly down the center of the road inside the training center at 10 feet above ground level, clockwise and counterclockwise. The pilot will momentarily lose sight of the drone around structures and will have to rely on the video images or the views to guide them. Next is the point of interest. The purpose is the student pilot should know how to apply the point of interest maneuver. This maneuver is used a lot during incidents when the video is being streamed into the management center or onto the ground station. The maneuver includes the student pilot picking a building and performing the point of interest maneuver. The aircraft will circle the building two complete rotations and then go opposite direction, at least two complete rotations. This is how the maneuver of the point of interest is carried out. Next is the standoff distance maneuver. The purpose is the student pilot will gain confidence flying near buildings and maneuvering the drone sideways along the building structure. The maneuver includes the student pilot to fly to the edge of the roof and hover at 6 feet above the edge. The student pilot will adjust the camera to a 45-degree angle and then back off the roof until the edge of the roof is in the center of the screen. The student pilot will then snap the camera perpendicular to the ground and descend until they can peek in the glass windows. The student pilot will then transition left and right, observing what is inside the building by looking through the glass windows. The student pilot will more likely have to adjust the exposure wheel to see beyond the reflection in the glass. Next maneuver is the reveal climb. The purpose is the student pilot will practice hand-to-eye coordination and apply multiple control inputs simultaneously. The maneuver includes the student pilot to fly eye-level hold position on an object approximately 4 feet off the ground and 30 feet away. The pilot will perform a 6 foot per second climb for 60 feet, tilting camera down at 10 degrees per second. Camera tilt action should end at the same time the drone reaches its 60 feet climb. Next is the long distance orientation. The purpose is to have the student pilot get comfortable with orienting the drone during long distance drone operations. The maneuver includes the student pilot turned around. The instructor will fly above MOCA 2000 feet plus away from the departure point and orient the drone away from a direct path returning to the departure point. The student pilot will then turn around, take the controller and orient the drone so it is facing directly away from the departure point without using the first person screen. Student pilot will return the drone to the home point without using the DJI return to home command. This is what the long distance orientation is about. Thank you very much. We will further look at various other things in our upcoming slides. Thank you.